Birth imprints, how your first breath shapes your life. What if the way you took your first breath shapes how you breathe, move and feel today? Your first breath isn't just the start of your life on earth, it's a blueprint for all future beginnings, transitions, challenges and endings. Do you remember your first breath? You probably don't consciously, but your body and your breath remembers. So what are birth imprints? When you're born, as you take your first breath, you hold the memory of this in your body, in your whole nervous system, in the hormones that are going and flowing through your body, in the patterns that you're making at the moment of your birth. All this is stored in your body's memory, imprinted by your birth. Some births can be stressful and you feel anxious and fearful. You feel rushed and they may be traumatic and you hold this memory. In other births, you feel safe and calm and supported, and then your body remembers and your nervous system remembers those feelings of safeness and calmness. However, it's not as simple as a medicalized birth is stressful and a physiological birth is calm. Perhaps during a natural physiological birth, you got stuck, or your mother became anxious. Perhaps during a medicalized birth, your mother was able to be calm and present and supportive. How do these imprints show up in later life and even immediately after birth? They'll often show up if a baby has a stressful birth, then the baby may find it hard to settle, they might cry a lot, they might have digestive issues, they may even have physical trauma in their body, for example, problems in their neck, in their pelvis, in key areas that are affected during birth. For people later on in life, that may also be the case that they have issues with breathing, with digestion, with physical issues connected with their jaw, their neck, their shoulders, their pelvis. Also, different births, different types of birth carry different imprints. For example, a birth which has been induced by giving artificial hormones to start birth, potentially before the baby is ready, overstimulates the nervous system, and the body tends to become slightly adrenalized, and the person or the baby may find it difficult to find their rhythm of doing things, to find their way of making new beginnings, because it wasn't at their own pace. And so they tend to express this as feeling a bit anxious, stressful, when situations are changing, either babies or adults get overstimulated. And they may even find it hard to begin things because they haven't begun their process of birth. Endings imprint differently. If you were helped during an ending, for example, through forceps delivery or through caesarean, well, firstly, your head has been pulled through forceps. In caesarean, your body hasn't experienced the same compressions, and you may feel less connected with your body. And it's how you've ended your birth. So you may find completing things in life is difficult. Other examples could be you had the cord wrapped around your neck. So you may hold a lot of sensitivity around your neck. You may even get quite agitated almost feel life and death situations because your cord carries your blood, and if it's being squeezed and compressed, you even can feel that you're about to die during birth. But we also have to remember that maybe an intervention felt helpful. If you were stuck and then you were helped out, you may feel a sense of relief. And also a lot depends on the presence of your mother and people around during your birth. So if your mother was able to stay calm, was able to breathe and relax and support you, you were able to feel her sense of support, and that whatever's going on, you have access to safety and calm. So perhaps some of the things that I've been talking about resonate with you, and you may start to remember some of your birth or stories that you've been told of your birth. Either your mother was very calm and enjoyed your birth, or she was stressed, or there was potentially almost like a life or death situation. There was a lot of trauma or anxiety. What do you remember now, and how do you feel that your birth may be affecting you today? But the good news is you can always repattern. It's better if you repattern immediately after birth, because a newborn baby's body and nervous system is very changeable, very adaptable. Your newborn brain is still developing, and it has a lot of capacity to change and assimilate new situations. Your nervous system as well can easily be changed. Even patterns held in your body's still growing, so even issues with your neck or your head or your pelvis can relatively easily be repatterned. And much of what parents do with babies instinctively after birth helps a baby absorb whatever kind of birth experience they've had. So simply holding your baby and being calm with them and breathing with them and touching them and holding them and listening to them and understanding what they need. Carrying them a lot is very important as well, skin to skin, because that gives continuity, that gives reassurance for the baby. Carrying them, helping them to find their own rhythm, so not rushing them to do things, giving them time, taking time for you as well, not feeling rushed after birth. Hopefully you have time to rest and just be with your baby and just hold them and understand what they need, and understand that their cries are their way of communicating, and don't be afraid to let them cry. That sometimes babies do just need a good cry, and that releases tension in their head, that helps them calm, that helps them reset their nervous system. The main issue with that can be that the mother herself or even her partner may be stressed after birth. So a stressed parent is transmitting the stress to their baby. That's where something like body work or another therapist or a supportive midwife or a supportive member of the family that can be calm, that isn't stressed, that can breathe, that can hold the baby, that can help regulate the nervous system of the whole family, can be really helpful. And it may be someone from outside the family, then it is helpful to bring in a sense of calm and reset everybody. In traditional Chinese medicine, we'd often say that if there's something the matter with the baby, look first at the mother, because the mother is giving the support, and that may have been one of the issues during birth, that the baby didn't feel supported. So now it's really important that the mother can be supported to feel calm. And this doesn't necessarily involve anything very complicated other than breathing, holding, slowing down. I've even had situations in my teaching classes where I've been teaching students some of these things, and we've had babies arrive. I always remember one baby arriving and they were hot. You could see in their head they had actually been born with a forceps delivery. And imagine that you've been pulled out by your head. So their head was very agitated. Their eyes were really stressed. They were crying a lot. They were red. And they didn't want to be touched initially. And that's actually something that I want to say, that often the area that's, if it's a physical trauma like the head or maybe the pelvis or the navel, how we were separated from the umbilical cord, the baby doesn't want to be touched. And that's kind of normal. It's uncomfortable, it's painful, but then they can't process it. So if the head is sensitive, you can actually work off the body. And in this particular clinic, I said to the students, it was very clear, babies do show very clearly what they need. And the baby, as soon as you started approaching the head, got very agitated and started crying. So they worked quite a lot with the feet, with calming, and then gradually getting the baby used to touch. Then the parents, of course, started to calm down because the baby wasn't crying anymore. And eventually, after about only 45 minutes, the baby was gradually able to let their parents touch the head and then eventually calm. And it was amazing to see the difference, that this baby, the face was no longer so red, their eyes were much more relaxed, and then of course the parents were relaxed. So that's an example of potentially how simple it can be. But there may be situations, perhaps one of the vertebrae in the baby's got blocked, and then maybe you need to go and see a baby specialist, osteopath, or someone who specialises in baby work to help. But a lot of times, especially if it's quite soon after the birth, it's relatively easy. What happens with time, though, is that the body starts to hold on to these patterns of stress, hold on to patterns of agitation and adrenal overstimulation, holds on to patterns of not feeling safe, of not feeling supported. And so if we have adults who come, as an adult, perhaps you have tensions in your jaw, you feel some of the things that I was saying, often difficulties beginning things or ending, a bit overstimulated, a bit unsafe. That's going to take a lot longer to unwind, maybe even months, maybe even years of just gradually chipping away at these patterns that have become ways that we are in the world, ways that we respond to stressful situations, ways that we respond to different transitions in our lives. And this is in traditional Chinese medicine, we talk about times in our lives that are gateways, when our body is changing, when our brain is changing, like adolescence, like even aging as well, or grieving, or times when our body is changing anyway. And these can be times when we can reset. So this is why our first breath affects future transitions, but our future transitions we can use to consciously reset our beginnings. So I hope this has given you some thoughts of how you might be able to repattern your body through touch, through breath, through movement. It's always possible to change how you experienced your birth and how you hold that memory in your body. The most simple is just to breathe, to be present in this moment. With each in-breath, you take in newness. You can breathe in slowly and reset your nervous system. With each out-breath, you can allow relaxation to happen in your body, maybe focusing on areas where you hold tension, perhaps like your jaw or your throat, and release what you no longer need. So you can come into a present moment of calm and resetting your nervous system. I hope I've given you some ideas for how you can reshape your life and your birth. You can always change with each in and out breath. And if you like these ideas, then you might want to check out practices on the Extraordinary Vessels of Chinese Medicine, which is some of the main tools I use in my touch. Foundation touch, which is a very simple touch that you can use on a newborn baby, but also you can use on an adult. This is especially good if you have been born by cesarean, because it gives that nice deep compressing, enveloping, safe kind of touch. And then many other movement and breath practices. Thank you for sharing this time with me.